Hey traders, Michael or Mini Frost here. You're here for another episode of Common Sense Market Analysis. Today is Turnaround Tuesday, July 29th, 2025. You're looking at a daily chart of the SPY or Spiders, which is the proxy for the S&P 500. What do we have on the docket today? Well, we had a nice little outside day today. It's been a little while since we had one of those. As you can see, the past few days/weeks, she's really just been grinding up higher, very small ranges, very small movements. And like I said yesterday, expect a little bit more umph in the market this week. You got some big time earnings coming up. You also have Kabuki Theater tomorrow. So we got a bunch of stuff on the docket this week where it could correlate a little bit of extra movement in the market. Had a little down day today in the SPY. She's down 0.26%, a little bit more than $1.50. We're not going to go ahead and call this the start of some type of retracement. It certainly can be. Wait to see if we get some follow through or anything. But all this is a little down day in an uptrend. Got a lot of stuff on the docket coming up this week, including tomorrow. So we'll see if she wants to take care of some unfinished business down below. You got the 20-period moving average, which hasn't been touched in quite some time. You got the trend line that we talked about yesterday. You also have some unfinished business down below. I drew a line at 628.86. That's an unfilled gap down below. It's in the vicinity of this breakdown candle high, also in the vicinity of this 20-period moving average. And then you have the trend line down below. So this creates a zone of support. Getting below that, the tape starts to change a little. The next big time destination that we talked about before last week is the most recent breakout area. That number comes in at 613.23. So getting below this initial support zone can produce another leg lower down to the most recent breakout area. Not to mention you got the 50-period moving average creeping up on that. But staying above all this important stuff, what is the main target on the upside? And that number is a big fat round number at 650. It's magnetic, it's important, it's big and fat. It's a number on the upside that Mrs. Market is most likely going to want to run a test to, but only if she remains stable among these levels. All the moving averages, the trend line. Now taking a look at the weekly chart for a moment, I just want to point out that the 628.86 level coincides with the most recent breakup candle low. And we just talked about that being some unfinished business down below. So if this is the beginning of some type of retracement and we are going lower, this is the first destination that Mrs. Market is going to want to head to. And then we could redraw this trend line. I took it off for a brief moment, but as you can see, that trend line is in between the midpoint phenomenon of this number right here, the 628.86, and then the most recent breakout area coming in at 613.23. Yesterday, I teased you guys about a little deal/promotion we got going on. We'll call it a little bit of a welcome back deal. This is going to be for the Lazy Swing Trader Automagical Algo system. As you can see, we have an 87% win rate this year. That's a pretty big number. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see all of our closed swing trades up until a certain point. And as you can see, it's a lot more green than red, and the ones that are red, we like to keep them small. 4%, 4%, 4.7%. There's a few anomalies out there, but nevertheless, this swing trader system is still doing exactly like it's been designed to, and that is to find winning swing trades. So what's the deal? For the quarterly plan, 3 months, it's now set at $297 instead of the normal price being $399. And then if you purchase the annual deal, that's going to come in at $997 plus a year free of the Magic Calculator, which is almost $1,500 in value itself. Original price for the annual plan is $1,299, taking off about $300. Throwing in the Magic Calculator for free, this is the first time my strategic forecast is doing any type of discounted deal. It's only going to be available for a short time only, so you better get on your horses. Lazy Swing Trader Automagical Algo System. 87% win rate this year. How you doing? Let's take a little detour and take a look at the inside the numbers 0 dark 30 stuff. This is the game plan that's laid out well before the morning bell. So as you can see, let's jump straight into things, starting with the morning pivot at 637.50. If she's above the pivot and closing above, she's bullish and will want to make a run towards the first overhead resistance number at 638.75. Boom, here we go. Right at the vertical line is today's activity. We opened above the pivot. 638.75 was on the board. We came up a few pennies short. That would have been a nice trade to start the morning. As you can see, we had a pretty much down day the entire day, but the market doesn't always give us what we want. We have to earn it, and we did exactly that. We earned it with the pivot trade. Wasn't a small one, but nevertheless, the pivot was at 637.50. She spiked it by a touch, provided the bare minimum base hit, but as you could see, that pivot was 100% important. She knew about the pivot, she tested it a few times, but then she got below the pivot. So what were the targets on the downside when we started to close candles below? Well, we had a ton of numbers on the downside. We were prepared. The gap from yesterday was one of those destinations, but just from the way that she was trading it early on in the morning, she came up short of the number. Remember, first time, best time situation. We weren't necessarily looking at that number for a trade, but if she spiked it down to our levels, we were more interested. Some of those numbers where she could spike through the gap and head towards the first zone of support at 636.30 to 635.45. And some just in caser numbers, 634.45 to 633.50 are numbers on the downside. So I put two of those numbers up on the board. We weren't necessarily looking for the gap to be a trade anymore. So 635.45 and 634.45 was a support zone. These were numbers on the downside when we started to close below the pivot. And as you could see, she spiked the first number, almost made it down to the second, but she did rip it back in the other direction, provided you more than a base hit. We'll call it a stand-up double. She made a high right around here at 636.55, so that's a little bit more than a buck. And then what'd she do coming into the close? She did manage to pick up the 634.45 and did bounce right off of it. Where to? Where was the target on the upside? Well, 635.45. Didn't quite make it there. She did come up a few pennies short, but nevertheless, this was a target. We had the whole game plan laid out on the board well before the morning bell, and traders today in the live room and inside the numbers did manage to pick up some pretty nice trades today. A job well done all around the board. Pause the video, read the notes, and go back to the chart to double check the work. Everything that you need to be a successful trader. What about 𝐾𝐻_IWM? She's down 0.64%. Nice little down day for 𝐾𝐻_IWM. And what did she do? She made her visit down to the 20-period moving average, home base. It was only a matter of time. Like we discussed about before, this breakdown candle high proved its importance once again. She touched it, immediately rejected. Where to? Down to the 20-period moving average. So this is the first line of defense. We did manage to close above it, which is a good sign, but it doesn't mean later on in the week she can start to close candles below it, possibly making another leg lower. If this is the case, where is lower? Where is an important area on the board? Well, that's going to be right around 216, give or take. It's the most recent breakout area, coinciding with a big-time breakdown candle high, coinciding with the 200 and the 50-period moving average, which are about to converge. It's hard to see it, but if I move this line a little, you'll see the 200-period moving average right here. So all around, this is going to be an important number that she can use as support, but that's only contingent on if we actually get there, if we actually start closing candles below the first line of defense, the 20-period moving average, and start taking out some of these lows right here. What about the folks at the transportation department? My second favorite market leading indicator, but number one, Canary in the coal mine. After another retest of this big time breakdown candle high, immediate rejected from that number, and where'd she go to? Down to the 20-period moving average, just like IWM, but the difference between the two was that we did manage to close below the 20-period moving average. That is the first sign. There's still a lot of time this week for us to see what she wants to do. If she wants to still continue to close candles below the 20-period moving average, eventually making her way down to the 200-period moving average. And if we quickly jump over to the weekly chart, we can see that she's a stone's throw away of retesting the most recent breakup candle low. But that's not all. If we do get below that, and that comes in at around 15,800 give or take, another important destination that's on the board, and we talked about this exact concept yesterday, it's this breakup candle low, and then this breakdown candle high, coinciding with each other. Not to mention, you got some moving averages around there too. You got the 100-period moving average right at around 15,500. So those are the numbers on the downside. If she wants to go, she's going to have to get back above 16,500 give or take. It was the big breakdown candle high that she was rejected off of. Getting back above that is the bull case scenario. What about good old Q people? Well, she's down 0.15%, almost down about $1.88, and it's just a small day for the Qs. We had some larger movement in IWM and the transportation department, but the spiders and the Qs weren't as drastic. This is just a small minor down day in a major uptrend. Still above all moving averages. Trend is your friend. We look at it in a weekly perspective, we can see that she's very, very strong in a very strong uptrend. But again, we do have some extra stuff on the docket this week, which therefore can provide a little bit of extra movement. A lot of time left this week, so we got to wait and see where she ends up as the week comes to the close. It's about how you close them, not about how you open them, not about how you trade it intraday. I mean, obviously, don't get me wrong, that stuff is very important as well, but not as important as where she closes, as where she finishes up on the day. What about XLF? She's down 0.5%. She had some nice follow through from previously testing the all-time high and this breakdown candle high she did get rejected from. And now where is she at? She's at the 20-period moving average, a stone's throw away from it. If we do manage to get down below the 20-period moving average and close candles upon it, the next larger destination is going to be this 50-period moving average, but you also got this breakup candle low that can be used as support. Depending on the timing of when she comes into this area, the 50-period moving average can already be coinciding with this number, so this is going to be some initial support, at least from an intraday perspective, if we do decide to get there. I hope you're writing these numbers down on a sticky note. I'm giving you a ton of information. Real quick, I just wanted to touch upon gold because gold has been a fan favorite for Inside the Numbers and Live Room. The numbers have been spot on for gold. As you can see, I have a number at 3304. This was the first support number on the board for members. As you can see in an hourly chart, this was low of day. How you doing? There's no wonder why gold has been a fan favorite. Last but not least, SMH, shaking my head, the semiconductors. She managed to spike the high a bit, making new all-time highs, but couldn't get that much farther than this. She touched it, came right back down. She's been toying around with the 20-period moving average, but closing candles above it, which is bullish behavior. We did have a gap up higher yesterday, so that did create some unfinished business down below, but as of right now, she's near the vicinity of new all-time highs. With some of the major earnings coming up this week, such as tomorrow, she can certainly blow past these all-time highs, pushing higher. That is an option that's definitely on the board. Have I told you guys how much I appreciate each and every one of you? Without you guys, these videos would not be possible. That is true and accurate information. Put it on a sticky note. We're going to wrap things up for today. Thank you all so much for tuning in for another episode of Common Sense Market Analysis. I'm 𝐕𝐼𝐹rost. We'll be back ready to go in uniform for tomorrow's session and the video later that night. Enjoy the rest of the day, folks, and take care.